Now, what I'll share with you right here, right now, most of you will probably disagree, and that's completely fine with me. This is for those of you who actually have the ability to see the truth in what I'll be sharing right here, right now, which is that life wants to beat you into submission. Every single person on this planet is experiencing this all the time. It's like there is an invisible force that wants to beat you down again and again and again and again. Now, with this part, a lot of people will agree. I can get that. Because it's the reality of this life. Life will try to beat you into submission again and again and again. But the next part of this is what many will disagree, which is something that we've been taught to practice. We've been taught that when life wants to beat us into submission, we should fight back. We should get the things we want from life. We should pursue what we want. We should try to bend reality in such a way so that it meets our expectations, so that it meets the egoic will that we have, which basically the egoic will is, you could also call it free will. And I'm going to tell you why free will doesn't actually exist here. Because free will is egoic will, which free will implies I want my will to be done. Forget about God's will. Forget about the will of the intelligence that created everything. Forget about that. I want my will to be done. Free will, right? It's egoic will. They're the same thing, and this doesn't actually exist. Because the more you try to fight reality, the more you try to bend reality to your will, the more life will beat you back. But this is only true. Now, life wants to beat everyone down. That's universal thing. But it's only true for those who are genuinely and honestly on that spiritual path, who are in a search for truth. What you realize is that you cannot beat life. Life can beat you, but you cannot beat life, because the intelligence of everything is greater than the intelligence that you have between your ears. So you cannot beat that great intelligence. So what's left to do for those of you who are on that spiritual path and are searching genuinely, honestly, for truth, for awakening, for enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, it's truth. You want to surrender, actually. You want to surrender to the will of the divine. You want to surrender to the will of God, to the will of the universe, whatever name you want to use for the great intelligence that embodies everything, runs everything, and maintains everything. You want to surrender to that will. Let go of your egoic will and realize that the more you try to impose your own will on reality, the more you will suffer, because you are trying to do the impossible, basically. Now, how is that true? Because let's say we've seen some people who have bended reality to their will, let's say, which for the most part people get into this because they want abundance, they want wealth, which there is nothing wrong with that. But that's why people believe in that, because we've seen people who, let's say, have won in life, we could say. But there are no winners and there are no losers in life. Life is an experience that must be lived, and you have no other choice than to live it out. And the more you try to fight that river that is always flowing in a direction that you most of the time don't like, the more you try to fight that flow, the more you will suffer. Well, then how do these people get rich and wealthy and achieve all their goals and they never get to see that truth? Well, because that's their destiny. You see, you cannot miss your destiny. If your destiny is to believe that you're 100% responsible for every single thing that happens in your life, or let's say you're responsible 100% for how your life unfolds and what you're going to do with your life, you think you can choose that. You think you can choose what to do with your life. If you believe that, then that's what you need to believe. But I'm here to share with you a deeper truth than that, which is that destiny is everything. You cannot not live out your destiny. You cannot miss your destiny. You cannot avoid it. Your destiny will always unfold regardless whether you like it or not. Everything that is destined to happen will happen, and everything that's destined not to happen will not happen. Doesn't matter how much you try, how hard you try, destiny always wins. And for a while, it's the destiny that you try to control this life that we are in right now. That's the destiny for a while. But again, if you're an honest seeker, then you've seen through that. You've seen that you don't really have control over yourself. You don't really choose what you like, what you don't like. You don't really choose what you feel attracted to and what you feel repulsed by. You don't really choose which people you like and which you dislike. You don't choose any of this. It just happens. So to say that you're in control of something in this life, even yourself, is a complete illusion. And believing in that illusion makes you suffer if you're on the spiritual path. Because basically you're trying to control something that's meant to be free. You're trying to control your own destiny when in reality you're meant to just experience it and go through it, not control it, not manage it, not do anything, just live it out. How can that be applied to everyday life? First of all, you have to drop the resistance. You have to surrender fully and realize that the will of God, the will of the divine, is everything that is happening. There is nothing right now in this life that is happening that is not the will of God, that it's not the will of the divine. Even all the things that we don't approve of, the things you don't like, the things you find evil, they're still the will of God. Why? Because they are happening. Nothing can happen outside the will of God. Once you realize this, how do you realize it? You just know. You just sense the truth in that. If you have the ability to sense that. And you just observe life and you see that control is one illusion. There is nothing you can control in this life. Nothing. Not even yourself. So once you see that, you surrender fully to the divine's will, to the will of God, the will of the universe. You surrender to that and you say to yourself, whatever is happening right now, nothing could be different. This is what it is, and I fully accept that. That is the practice. That will eventually initiate an awakening process within you, a process that is really worth it. Because can you imagine if life happens, whatever happens in your life, and you don't resist anything, you move with it. You see a situation happens, and let's say instead of you resisting it, you accept it. And if something is required of you, you automatically get the urge to do something about it, and you don't fight that also. So you're constantly allowing life to be life, which you are life itself in a human form. And it seems like there is something outside happening and there is something inside happening, but it's all the same thing. What I mean by that is that life is not separate, life is one thing. Life is within you, life is within me, life is within objects, animated, not animated objects. Life is within everything. So instead of fighting that thing called life that tries to beat you into submission over and over again, you've tried fighting it, and you've probably seen people who fight to their last breath and their entire life is just pain and misery and suffering. Well, we could say that this was the experience that they needed to go through. But for you, it may be different. It may not be the same experience. You don't know what your destiny is. Maybe you're meant to realize a deeper truth, which is that instead of trying to fight back life, I surrender. I surrender and I accept the will of the divine over my egoic will, over my free will, which again, egoic will, free will is the same thing. It's I want my will to be done, not God's will. I don't care what God's will is. I want my will to be done. This is what free will is essentially. So you're denying God's will. And God's will, again, is everything that happens. Nothing is outside of that. So here is what I suggest. Stop fighting life. Surrender. Surrender and let go of believing how things should be like. Let go of wanting reality to mirror your expectations. Let go of that. And see how you feel afterwards. Do you feel relieved? Do you feel more free? That's the paradox. You accept destiny and you become free. You think you have free will and you become constrained. That's the truth. It's a paradox. You accept your destiny, you accept the will of the divine, which is this moment, right here, right now, always. You accept that this is what it needs to be because that's the will of God. And you become free in that. So try that and let me know how did it work out. Can you see that truth? Can you realize it? If not, I'm sorry, then this channel might not be for you because this is the level that we mostly speak here on. But if you can see the truth within what I'm sharing here, if you resonate with that, then this channel is exactly for you. So I know that most people will not agree with that, and that's perfectly fine. This message is for those of you who actually stayed to the end. And if you stayed to the end, up until here, then it means something within you is actually trusting that. But you may not be 100% sure if that's true. Well, test it. Put it to the test. Try to bend reality. Can you do that? Try it for as long as you like. And then let me know. What's higher? Bending reality, or at least trying to bend it, or surrendering to what is and accepting it? What makes you free? contemplate that and experience it and see for yourself. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.